Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about finding talent. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, how difficult is it actually to find talented software developers? It's very tough because most people don't understand how the world finds a software developer today, and why it is borderline impossible to make it more streamlined or make it faster in any way. Let me walk you through how it usually works. So, as you can imagine, when we talk about talented, it's up for discussion. What is a talented software developer? Which is the first problem, that each of us has a different definition of what we consider to be important. Some people feel like no talented software developer who submits code without unit testing. Some people think that it is about how many tools you know. Some think it's years. Some think it is about perspective, vision, creativity. Like, it's such a hard to define thing. What is a talented software developer? And each company in turn has slightly different needs, because the person that is right for the job varies from team to team and company to company. Now, that is in of itself something that makes it borderline impossible for you to just say, here's the profile that we are looking for, go and get that person, and then have that kind of fit on the first try. It's similar to saying that we're going to find the next big actress or the next big like rock band or something like that. It's really down to a process where it's sort of a little bit of trial and error, because there's no way for you to just say, yeah, this is going to definitively be the thing that's going to work out. So the way it works is that the recruiters, usually, if we now assume that we are going to have recruiters, usually it's very common to use a recruiter. The recruiters will get a specification for the sort of roles that the company is hiring for. Now, this is first problem number one. The recruiters are completely ignorant of everything software related. They have no technical skills. They're not programmers. They've never coded a day in their life. They know nothing at all about what is a good software developer. Most of the tools are just words to them. And so they go out and they start looking at LinkedIn profiles, etc., etc. Now the next problem comes. Well, is it likely that the most talented software developers have a really nice LinkedIn profile that's going to impress this person that knows nothing about what matters? Well, maybe, if you're lucky. If you're not so lucky, it's just, they might not even have a LinkedIn post, or like a pro CV, like a public CV. It doesn't have to be LinkedIn, but I hope you understand. So now you have this person who knows nothing about software development trying to figure out, is this a good candidate, yes or no? And after a lot of trial and error, they will start telling themselves bullshit like they actually know how to do this, which is usually not the case. It's just that from their perspective, they're very good. Similar to how how someone who is morbidly obese can feel really good about themselves for going out on a walk every other week. It's similar. Sure, it's great that you're making progress, but you're kind of far away from being able to do this in a very effective manner. And so that leaves them with gut feeling driven, as I like to say, gut feeling driven decision making. No one is data driven. Everybody is gut feeling driven, usually. And so they start picking up conversations with these various people. And depending on social skills, like, their own value system, sort of, it's an error-prone process, very similar to how a student can get a bad grade for not having the same value system or communication system that the teacher enjoys. If anybody's ever been in school, they've probably reflected on that most of what your grade comes down to is, of course, being able to get the tests right and so forth, but your teacher also has a little bit of wiggle room to give you things like upper, higher, lower, etc., etc. The recruiter has the same ability. because you haven't even been introduced yet. And now, depending on their personal agenda, whatever they want, etc., etc., you might get to talk to someone in the company. Now, when you get to the company, it's going to be next thing, which is, okay, the company. Does the company know what a good software developer looks like? And do they know how to evaluate what a good software developer is? If they don't, there is no way for them to figure that out, and they're going to be left putting you through a process that is either going to be hilarious, like silly, almost like it's embarrassing that this is what they have as a process, or it's going to be ridiculously tough, or it's going to be ridiculously stupid, like all of these sorts of things, because they don't actually know what a talented software developer looks like, because the person who's doing the hiring in the company is as ignorant, or almost as ignorant, of what a good software developer looks like as the recruiter. Now, that then brings you to the code test, the personal interview. There are so many things along the line here that can come down to that the developer might not want to do things. I mean, some developers don't want to do the code test because they feel it's beneath them, but that also creates a problem for the company, because you can't just hire someone based on what they wrote on their CV. Then they might as well, I can make up anything and say that I'm a master of everything programming related, and if I never have to prove it to anybody, how will someone know if I know it? That's why we have medical exams and like licenses, stuff like that. So you might lose people that way, because they've already feel like they've already done that. They're somewhere else already being paid. Why would they go through the hassle of doing a code test? And some code tests are ridiculously long. Like, it's going to take hours, if not days in some cases. And so this entire process leads up to one single thing, and that is that the company at the end of the day is going to make a gut feeling decision. And now comes the last part. Do they actually know what they need? Because a highly talented software developer, well, you might have the world's best junior software developer on your hands, who is so talented and so driven that they're going to probably become one of the best, but you're not going to hire that person because your evaluation process only favors people who are like middle-aged, or people who have experience, etc., etc. And you might hire a incompetent senior who knows the lingo and knows how incompetent you are in figuring out if they're good or bad, and so they can swing the language and with a bit of charisma actually trick you into believing that they're better than they are. Guys, you have no idea how many so-called seniors that I have worked with that are so bad at this craft that they fuck up projects to the point where it's hilarious. Where we have to bring in other developers to actually fix the mess that they have put the company in, because the company does not know what a good software developer looks like. And so all of this amounts to that it's almost impossible to really figure out, or it's really a crapshoot. It really is a crapshoot if you're lucky, and then even if you are lucky, because as I said, there's no way for you to streamline this in any way, because it's a matter of trust and evaluation and willingness to go through the hassle as a software developer and make them. This is the last part as well, which is really fun. Most of the good software developers already have jobs, so you're going to have to convince them to come to your company as well. So there's the enormous amount of energy you have to put in to just getting quote-unquote good and highly talented software developers is enormous, because just actually finding someone, let alone getting them through the whole pipeline and then signing a contract, is almost impossible, because you have no. Honestly, guys, maybe it would be better that we just all agree that when we retire as software professionals, we all become recruiters. Because none of the recruiters have a fucking clue of how to figure out very early on in the process if this is a good software developer or not. And honestly, it's almost semi-serious. I think that that would be the best solution. If actual professional software developers did the actual reaching out to other developers, talking to them and so forth, because just a 5 minutes of a conversation with a real senior software developer, well, they're going to be able to figure out very quickly if the candidate actually is any good or not, even if they haven't written a code test or anything like that. So what I want you to take away from this is that finding highly talented software developers is nigh on impossible. It is a crapshoot. It is a complete crapshoot. The only thing you can do is to follow this like established process. It's basically an evaluation where you have to just reach out to people based on the gut feeling of someone who really doesn't know what a good software developer looks like. I mean, sure, they can have hints. I mean, it's not like they're incompetent per se. It's just that it's very difficult for other people who are non-programmers to figure out what matters. And so they usually give you a stream of people, you evaluate them, etc., etc., and you interview them, and that is really the only way you can go through it. So it's a very slow process. It's not like in areas where you can sort of just pick anybody, because highly talented people, well, they're not really all that common. Most software developers are not actually highly talented and driven and will have all the necessary skills that you have to have in order to be highly talented. You have, in some cases, you have people who believe that they are talented when the reality is that the work that you do in that company is actually outside of their talent zone, which makes the whole thing even more complicated, because you might have the world's best CSS master, but what you need is an ops person. So it's a very tricky situation to maneuver. And the people who are like just these holistic behemoth unicorn types of developers, you might find you might find one type of person like that per gigantic corporation. There is so few of those people, that these sorts of fire, like people who have real hunger, real fire in their eyes, the people who are like, they learn everything. They learn front end, they learn back end, they learn ops, like they just love all of this stuff, and they know how to lead it, they know how to do all the things, because it's a gigantic area, guys. And so many people and so many processes and so many skill sets that are required to deliver large-scale systems in software. So finding a person that can do all those things when the market is like basically everybody's spoken for by some other company, yeah, it is a bit of a challenge. Have a great day.